Good afternoon. I am Darlene Davenport, your Greater Tampa Realtors 2020 President for Greater Tampa. To have with us our National Association of Realtors President Vince MALTA, a dynamic business professional that has shown true leadership through this crisis. As a broker in San Francisco, he understands firsthand the challenges our realtors are facing in this pandemic. He is a leader who listens with compassion and is touted as someone who stays calm under pressure and delivers. We have witnessed this in the last 30 days. We are also proud to have our Florida Realtors President, Barry Grooms, again an active broker working this business daily with a true understanding of the industry. He and his leadership have been working diligently to keep us informed and supported. Thank you. From our local level, we are honored to have County Commissioner STACY White. In addition, our Hillsborough County Administrator, Mr. Mike MERRILL. The Hillsborough County Commissioners and Mr. MERRILL have certainly met this challenge head-on with their leadership. At this time, I turn the program over to your National President, Vince MALTA.
Greetings, Tampa Bay Realtors. Hello from San Francisco. And I want to thank President Darlene Davenport this year for her leadership, and your executive officer, Dennis MacDonald, and your entire team. Who would have expected what we're facing this year? But together, we will get through this and we'll be stronger. As Darlene said, NAR's message is the same. First and foremost, your health and safety is our priority. These past 2 weeks have been amongst the most tumultuous and emotional any of us can remember. The COVID-19 outbreak deeply affects all of us. It has changed how we run our business, how we keep our loved ones close, and how we stay connected to our communities. Hasn't home taken on a greater meaning than it has ever taken on over these last several weeks? As industry extroverts and connectors, it goes against our grain to practice social distancing. We're the folks who literally bring people together to achieve their dream of homeownership. But realtors have always adapted to change. And here we are doing it again. Realtors are stepping up, offering virtual showings, adjusting contracts to allow for more time for appraisals, inspections, and helping clients understand their options. You have your clients and customers' backs. And so please know that NAR has yours as well. Your well-being and your business are of paramount importance to me, our NAR team, and everyone at NAR during this unprecedented time. In keeping with our core value of members first, NAR continues to monitor the situation so we can help you process the information about the real estate industry and economy and help you ensure your business continuity. We're also fighting on your behalf. Last week, as you know, Congress passed and the president signed a $2 trillion relief bill, the largest economic stimulus package in American history. The CARES Act contains numerous benefits for realtors that NAR fought hard for during the past 3 weeks. There is unemployment eligibility for the self-employed and independent contractors who are not usually covered under traditional state unemployment benefit programs. Yes, fellow members, that's us, the independent contractors and the self-employed. The act also includes unprecedented aid, nearly $350 billion in loans for small businesses that can be used for mortgage interest, rent, utilities, payroll costs, and some of these loans are forgivable. There is an employee retention tax credit of $50 billion. There is a delay in business payroll tax payments. In addition, under the CARES Act, borrowers of government-backed securities can request up to 360 days of payment forbearance without proof of hardship and without penalties. That's a big thing for all of us, including your clients. Eligible multifamily properties with federally insured loans can request forbearance for 30 days due to financial hardship, with extensions of up to 90 days. Borrowers can receive forbearance may not evict or charge late fees to tenants for the duration of that forbearance period. I think that's reasonable. As you can see, the bill will go a long way to help people until the economy can thrive again. And NAR continues to work with lawmakers to bring even more industry relief. We're advocating for national access to remote online notary service, which Florida already has, so remote closings can take place in all 50 states, and extensions of the 1031 exchange and opportunity zone timeframes so that people aren't stuck with those deadlines as they're trying to find properties through the crisis. Real estate is a huge economic driver. It represents nearly 10 million jobs, and it makes up approximately 17% of our economy. The federal government agrees that real estate is critical to our US economy. In fact, the Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, pronounced CISA, over the weekend updated its list of essential services to include residential and commercial real estate and settlement services. NAR's effective and persistent advocacy in collaboration with other trade organizations help show that people who make a real estate transaction happen, from procurement to lending, appraisal to closing, and everything in between, are critical to America's infrastructure. States trying to get this essential designation, including Florida, can point to these federal guidelines. It's not a guarantee that a state government will agree, but it's a big help. State and localities will determine which real estate services, if any, are essential. And please note that you must abide by state and local orders to the letter and conduct real estate services safely under current COVID-19 health guidelines, such as social distancing. We have an obligation to protect our fellow citizens as our top priority. Another late-breaking bit of news comes from FEMA, and this affects you, Floridians. On Saturday, the agency announced it will extend the grace period to renew flood insurance policies from 30 to 120 days to help national flood insurance protection policyholders experiencing financial hardships. So, if a policy expires between February 13th, 2020 and June 15th, 2020, the policyholder must provide the renewal premium within 120 days of the expiration date to avoid a lapse in coverage. As you can see, information is coming at a breakneck speed every day. NAR is drinking from the fire hose so that you don't have to, and we'll provide updates as the administration and various agencies release more guidance on these new programs and how they'll be implemented. So keep in mind also that the legislation makes various policy changes outside of NAR's area of expertise, including an unemployment insurance, small business, and family and medical leave. The advocacy team will understandably need a little time to interpret the many issues in the 862-page legislation. The one that I get the most is, how do I make an unemployment claim? Is it because I have a failed transaction? What triggers it? So we'll get guidance on this, and you'll be able to find that on nar.realtor. And we're going to have a hotline in place, which is our COVID-19 1-800 number. And I ask you to go online and find that information so that you could call in and get any of the information you need on those specifics. So we also, again, our website is nar.realtor/CARES Act if you want to know more about the CARES Act. And for frequently asked questions, nar.realtor/coronavirus-FAQ. But you could also find it by just navigating the website, do a search, and you'll find it hopefully quite easily. It's right on the front page. At this unprecedented time, it's also imperative that NAR make business critical tools available to our members, residential and commercial, without adding to their financial burden. Last week, NAR launched its Right Tools, Right Now initiative, which makes new and existing NAR products and services available to all members, either free or at significant discounts. Right now, many of us are at home with stay-in-place orders. This is a great time in which to retool for your clients, because when this is over, and it will be over, okay, we will be more than prepared. And I also tell our agents, this is a time where your clients need you more now than ever to connect with them. So feel free to connect to your clients. So even if you don't have a transaction, they want to make sense of how does this crisis affect them in their home, their real estate. It'll be an excellent opportunity to, again, strengthen those relationships you have with your clients, because that's so vitally important. So Right Tools Right Now is something that was rolled out in 2009, as you know, during the Great Recession. And it's proven to be a wonderful tool for our agents. And I think it just goes to show right now that we're remembered for what we do and we don't do during this crisis more than ever. People will remember us. And we want you to remember NAR as rolling out all the stops for you right now so that you can get through this and when this is over, succeed. So I ask you to go and online and take a look at some of the tools that are available to you, and hopefully that will be of great assistance for you. So that's nar.realtor/righttools right now, and hopefully you'll be able to avail yourselves to that. We also have programs regarding financial wellness that you can go to, and you could find those at financialwellness.realtor. So we have a lot of tremendous resources. And it would be shameful if I didn't make a plug for our Commitment to Excellence program. Here's something that you could also complete while you're at home and get your Commitment to Excellence certification. Just go through the modules, strengthen some of the areas that you need strengthening, and it's a great time in which to do that. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. You can go to c2ex.realtor and get started on that program. And if you've already gotten started, now's the time to really complete that. We have, during this pandemic, we still have an ad campaign going on. And so you'll see some of those ads. You'll be able to use some of those things that are displayed in the ads by an app. It's called Photify. You can sign up for that at photify.com, and you could work those social media tools into communicating with your clients. And so it'll tie it on very nicely. That 1-800 toll-free line that I was talking about for the COVID-19 crisis, it's 1-800-874-6500. Again, 1-800-874-6500. Representatives will be there between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Prompts will guide you to the right person depending on your question. And the more questions we get, we're going to provide them on the Q&A so that you'll have them on the site as well. So that's a great place to go. So, fellow members, Greater Tampa Realtors, I just want to say that we're a team, and no matter how distant we are from each other physically, and no matter what we're facing, we've weathered incredibly difficult circumstances before, with 9/11, the Great Recession. This one's just our latest adversity. We'll get through it by sharing our information, by following the best protocols for health and safety for both us and our clients and customers. And while much is very fluid right now, one thing is for sure: this crisis will pass. Our nation, our communities will recover, and we're going to emerge stronger on the other side. So I want to thank you for all you're doing at your place of business, at your home, and in your communities. And I've never been more prouder to be called a realtor. So thank you for all you are doing. So with that, Darlene, I hand it back to you, Dennis.
President Malta, thank you so much for that wonderful update, a wealth of knowledge. And we feel with your leadership, the engagement of being a team, keeping us informed in all that you're doing behind the scenes. Thank you. I did have some questions that came to us for you. So at this time, I'd like to present those to you. The first question: what are some ways realtors are adapting their business to the current climate?
Okay. So there's a lot of virtual tools at your disposal. So even if you're a state, and even if, let's say, Florida gets to be a state that is deemed real estate as an essential service, we implore you to use these virtual tools. Again, our website has a great wealth of knowledge in relation to virtual tools that are out there for our agents. And I really welcome you to use those. Fortunately, you're a state that has e-notary, which is fantastic. We want to make sure that we can provide as many virtual experiences as possible in relation to that. We've worked very hard at the federal level to get drive-by appraisals so that you can get that tool as well, so that appraisers physically do not need to go into the properties. So you can get these transactions closed for your clients. We know that it's very important. Florida is well positioned because you already have e-notary in place, et cetera. So, you know, that's fantastic. So again, virtual, virtual, virtual. That's probably the three most important things right now next to location and real estate.
And that's where we are today, virtual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question, can you share specific industry challenges at a national level?
Yeah. I've shared the essential services one, which is a challenge and people have a misunderstanding. Because it's very important that even though you're deemed an essential state or local communities, real estate is essential, you still need to comply with safety and health protocols. And let me tell you, there's some actors out there that are forcing those protocols on people when they don't want to do them. And you get enough bad stories like that, that essential designation may be taken away from you just as soon as you got it. So again, be very mindful. And I know Florida is not an essential, not deemed as essential real estate state, but again, be very mindful of how we're dealing through these situations. So that has been national emergency. The other one is, quite frankly, how is all this going to come down in relation to the Relief Act? How do I apply? Where do I apply? All those questions. And we will get guidance on that very shortly, because that comes up quite a bit. So be patient. We're almost there on that. The fortunate thing is we got them included in the bill. There are some states that have denied the fact that real estate or our practitioners, the self-employed, are not included, and they've never been included in state unemployment bills. This bill specifically covers that. So I want to hear from anyone that was denied self-employment, okay, or independent contractor status in your state and was denied. We want to hear those stories so that we can make sure we put pressure on them, because they're not understanding how this works. So I've already had one state come forward with something, and we're putting pressure on that state to understand this bill.
Fantastic. The next question goes to that. When do you feel we will see things open up for applications and money to hit the homes?
Okay. So I would say we're still working on that. So it's going to be at least a week, and you're going to have guidance right online. So keep checking nar.realtor. We're also going to try to push it out to members as well so that they know. So there'll be a variety of things. And then you'll be working with your state on some of these things, I would imagine, because there might be some things that are state specific. So I don't want to toss the ball off to the state, but you've got a great team in Florida who you're going to hear from very shortly. Just fantastic. So I know you'll be covered one way or another.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'll finish up with one more. Should the COVID-19 restrictions continue into the new year, are there any considerations to help active realtors who are unable to meet their membership dues?
Okay. So I will say that NAR is all in. Okay. We did a pivot and a shift on most everything we have in the organization so we can concentrate on getting our members through this. And we want to concentrate what this looks like on the other side of this. So know that we're there for you. So I make a commitment to you as president that we will take in all considerations in relation to membership, et cetera, as we move forward. And I want you to know you've got a leadership team and an organization that cares about you. And we're going to continue to work hard for you.
We feel that. I have one question for you. What can we do for you?
Well, fellow members, you're doing it. You really are. Just show people what realtors are really made of. They really care about the health and safety of others, primarily through this. So really, let's not prolong this, okay? We don't want to be part of or contribute to the length of this. So let us just follow what our local and state governments are telling us to do and staying in place, okay? And we will get through this sooner and stronger on the other side. So with that, and I also want a big shout out to some of you who are doing some amazing things in your communities, donating things to health providers. Again, as I said earlier, I've never been prouder to be a realtor, and I'm seeing all those incredible acts by realtors, because realtors are the fabric of communities. And so you're doing everything and more that I could have expected out of people. So thank you for that.
Fantastic. President Malta, thank you so much for joining us today and all that you are doing. We see it, we feel the resources coming, and we couldn't be in better hands on a national level. So our shout out to you and your team and all that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Darlene.
At this time, Dennis MacDonald, our CEO.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I want to apologize to those of you who are trying to tune in at 1 o'clock, the original start time. We were having some technical difficulties going with Facebook Live. It was overwhelmed in our area and we couldn't get it going. But I have been told we are now streaming live, and we have, I think, about 200 people that are watching us. So that is terrific news, and I'm monitoring the questions below. So thank you for joining. Apologize for the delays. Barry and I are going to do a little bit of a different presentation. I'm going to have a little bit of a dialogue back and forth, have some questions, and just have an open discussion. And I'd love to see the questions that you all have here on Facebook. So I'm going to start out with one. First, thank you very much, Barry, for being here today. We really appreciate you and your leadership team. Can you tell me what it's like to be the president of Florida Realtors during a global pandemic, and how the leadership team has adapted to keep everything going?
You know, I'll tell you what it was like a few days ago, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, and what it's like today. When you're coming through a period of time of shock and awe, it's easy to say, why me, why now? You know, I was talking to Vince a little bit earlier, and even some might say, well, geez, do I get a redo? The answer is no. And I'll tell you how I feel today. I wouldn't want one. As far as leadership skills and training and everything that I've been through, all of the Zig Ziglar seminars and, you know, everything that I've read and everything that I've ever done has prepared us for today. But what's really what I'm taking away from this now is that I truly understand that iron sharpens iron. And I'm watching every state president around the nation, because we're in contact with each other on the hub, which is a great place if you're on a community, by the way, and the same thing with the Voice in the state of Florida, really coming together. And then all the locals like Darlene, you know, this is awesome. This is a way that we can help each other, we can grow, and we can build. No famous president ever became famous because of something that didn't happen, right? I mean, something big and epic happens their year, and that's how they're memorable. So we're going to be memorable, guys.
The question that's probably weighing on a lot of our members' minds is everyone is eagerly awaiting the March housing reports. Is Florida Realtors looking at this month differently than any other months? What is your strategy?
So as far as the numbers go and what we produce for media circulation and what we put out for our statistical data out of Dr. O'Connor's office, we're not changing anything. You know, we're doing it exactly the same way, because if you understand economics, the moment you start messing with the controls, it could be a perpetual effect down the road. What we are doing, though, is we've met with Dr. O'Connor on several instances. He's been part of 2 of our leadership team meetings that we've had, Friday and Monday. And we've asked him to look at things a little differently, put that training to work. The guy's brilliant. And now he's getting to exercise and stretch his legs a little bit and starting to look at trends and starting to use measurements such as MSAs or counties, statewide, and tri-area information. How is the coronavirus affecting our numbers? How is it in relation to municipalities and counties that are currently on safer at home ordinances versus ones that aren't? So the numbers are going to come out. Most of you don't understand that there is that are watching, and I hope you do, you will now. There's about a 15-day window after the month ends that we really have to put these numbers to the test and cross-examine them, make sure we have good quality analysis of it, make sure the numbers are very defendable. That's the reason the numbers don't come out on the 1st or 2nd. So you're still going to see them on the same time. There is a link to them. We also have a website. It's yourfloridarealtors.org/coronavirus. Everything you ever wanted to know is going to be contained on that page. We try to do a one-stop shop. It's very mobile friendly. So, but look forward to possibly us trying to come up with some creative ideas to help with trending, because we know the numbers are going to be affected, and they're not going to be in a positive way. We know that.
That's great. Thank you for all that good information. We've never really seen anything like this before in our lifetimes. Industries all over, especially real estate, are adapting their businesses daily. The virtual world and the real world are becoming one. Do you think real estate is going to look different once this is all over, and how will that look?
You know, I think real estate's going to look different because we're going to look different. I, for one, am 5 pounds fatter. I picked up I know, Dennis, you gave this to me earlier, my Corona 5 instead of the freshman 15. I'm well on my way. But all kidding aside is that, I was talking to an associate the other day, and she gave me of what she's doing to fill her day. And that included taking walks. That included writing personal notes. That included cleaning up her database. That included looking at the statistics, sharpening her axe a little bit. So what we're seeing is what is now a 30-day window that we're forced to do this. We're going to come out of this having habits. 14 days creates a habit. We're going to have habits now that are going to change who we are and how we work. And I have to believe that's going to make us better, faster, and stronger. So I think the industry is going to come out on the other side with better realtors, if there's a such thing. But secondly, technology obviously being forced to work in a world that we weren't comfortable with, and now being kind of thrown into that, we're definitely going to be able to adapt better. The reality is, I think the consumers and the world already have, this is going to give us a chance to get in front of it and get in front of our message and learn how to tell our story better.
Excellent. Something in Tampa that we're very excited to be the host city for is the WIRE Conference, the Women in Real Estate. Greater Tampa is a platinum sponsor of that event, and many of our members are very excited about it coming up. Do you have any updates that you can share?
Well, it's still on the calendar. What I tell everyone is that that's a pretty political answer, right? We don't know what we don't know, but what we are doing is we are always working on plan Bs. This leadership team is, I'm so blessed to have them because of the diversity and the depth and breadth of the knowledge that they all possess and the care and passion they have for our members. We still have it on the calendar. We're going to wait and see what happens. But what I can tell you is that in the event that something changes what we are able to do as an assemblage, we're working on some pretty creative stuff at Florida Realtors. As you know, one of my goals this year for the leadership team was to grow our global presence by hosting more inbound trade missions and assist our locals in doing the outbounds. Well, Maria Gerlich, being the girl that she is, and Margie Grant being this brilliant, beautiful mind, came up with an idea. And of course, the leadership team has blessed it. We're going to do our first inbound trade mission from Canada because we can't do Realtor Quest. The difference is it's going to be virtual. So the opportunities in professional development and in networking are still going to be there. We just have to do it a little different. It's not business as usual. It's business unusual.
That's great. Normally we'd be preparing also for the Florida Realtors Convention that'd be coming up, preparing for booking rooms and getting registered. What's the forecast look like for that?
Well, you'll be glad to know you're probably the first association that I can say this. There hasn't been a specific date that we have decided to release the information. We are still planning on having this event. We are still planning on having it as planned and as usual. We have a lot of opportunities for the members that are there. As you know, we have a great band, Casey and the Sunshine Band. What I'm trying to figure out, Dennis, is you think they'd let me do it in the backyard and have a concert back there and I can just like Zoom everybody in? Maybe. What we are doing is we're being cognizant and aware that now may not be the time for our members to put a significant amount of money on their credit cards to reserve hotel rooms and rooms. We also know that we need to make sure that our association executives and CEOs and our chairs and committee members are taken care of when it comes to the hotel rooms. So I can tell you that Jeannie Underbrink and the team at Florida Realtors is fully prepared to open it. Right now, we're working with Jeff Zipper to look at market analytics and see what the patterns are. We want to be sensitive to the situation, but our plan is to go forward, and our plan is to announce registration soon.
Terrific. Really appreciate that update. In general, the communications from you to the realtors in our state and from Florida Realtors have been terrific. What are some of the resources that Florida Realtors has that you want our members and all the members watching to know about?
Well, the first one is the website again, and it bears repeating, and I know you can put it on this link as well, but it's your floridarealtors.org/coronavirus. You know, we take for granted sometimes the talent that we have in Orlando right now with our communications team until times like these, and especially with our technology team and all hands on deck, which, by the way, we mobilize them and they become telecommuting within a matter of days, and we're 100% functional. So what I want to tell you is obviously go to the website, look at our updates, make sure you read your Florida Realtor News. If you haven't signed up for the Florida Realtor News, that's a great way to get it pushed to you versus you going out and having to think about it every day. And you can go on to floridarealtors.org, just go up to the top query bar, put in Florida Realtors News, sign up for it, and you're going to get, stuff as it happens. Literally changes by the hour.
Those are terrific resources. Thank you for mentioning those. Florida Realtors, are you guys preparing at all if the governor decides to issue a mandatory stay-at-home or shelter-in-place? What are you doing on your end to prepare for that should it go into effect?
Well, I tell you, we out of the other states that I'm seeing, we've already been preparing for it. We've already been acting on it. And what I mean by that is that Governor DeSantis has taken a little different approach than some of the governors out there. You know, we had a lot of areas in the state of Florida, and because we're so long, we had up to several dozen, or a couple, I won't say a couple dozen, but a significant number of areas that were virtually unaffected by the virus with 0 cases. And his opinion was, of course, being kind of a federalist, he said, you know, we want the locals to be able to deem what is appropriate for their areas based on behavior, like Vince said. You know, just because you're deemed an essential business by your municipality, if you're out there being irresponsible, not doing your part to keep yourself and more importantly, the other people safe, guys, they can pull that. So just because, be careful what you ask for. But what we're doing is we're working with each local municipality. We have an amazing legal team, and Danielle Scoggins in our Tallahassee office has been monitoring, distributing, and helped craft, in some cases, these ordinances with the municipalities. A lot of what you saw take place in Southeast Florida with Miami-Dade and West Palm area was large in part due to information that was gained by Florida Realtors. So he came up with a little better plan than they had before. And so we're monitoring best practices. We're also posting that information for you on that coronavirus website. So if you have a strong relationship with your local municipality and the leaders, gives you an opportunity to reach out to them to say, hey, here's some evidence of what's working in these other areas. And you become a resource to your local government because they're freaking out. You know, they're having to make these big calls, and we're a very small business, pro-business state. So you have to weigh the balance of what is healthy and responsible and respectful to the community and how the business works. So we're on top of it. If you need information on some of those ordinances, please reach out to us. You can do it on the website or call me. You know, I know you can post my phone number out there. You can find me on the website right now if you need to. So sorry, I got a voice in the background.
That's okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. The efforts of Florida Realtors and the National Association and the local levels too for getting real estate to be considered essential has just been tremendous. I know there's been advocacy and lobbying efforts that have been done at all levels, so it's terrific to see that come through. Before we get into the questions from Facebook, I'd like to talk a little bit about you, Barry, and just have a conversation about Barry. How is Barry doing? Do you wish that maybe this had happened during Eric's year instead of yours?
You know what? No. No, because all you remember is he's a good dancer and he's got a great smile. You know, with me, I'm the guy that's this team's gonna bring you through the fire and we're gonna be on the other side. You know what? No, I think everything in life, we're selected. And regardless of what your belief is, I have a very strong faith, and I believe I'm here for this reason. And I think just in life, it's a test. No, I'm getting through fine. You know, I have a lot of things that I do throughout the day that helped me through this. And so, no, I don't. I'm glad. I can't say I'm happy to be here, but I'm okay being here.
Good. What are some of the things that you're doing to stay productive amongst the pandemic?
A lot of honeydew lists. I have worked on a closet. I built some new barn doors for it. And no, I'm catching up on a lot of the things that keep me somewhat distracted, because what I do find is that if I don't do intentional things throughout the day to get my mind off of things, it can be somewhat overwhelming. And, you know, just like sleep, your brain needs a rest too. So what I do is I find myself focusing on activities that are productive, things that I can work on now and see an end result, whether it's gardening, whether it's working in the garage, or whatever the case may be. I've developed a few habits every single day that allow me to start the day. You know, my number one thing that I do is I get up as if I'm going to work. I shower, I shave, I get dressed. I do these habitual things that are skill sets that enable me to kind of get through it. Because if you let yourself fall into the media, if you let yourself fall into every single news article that's out there, if you get wrapped up too deep and everybody's an expert on Facebook, you're going to fall victim to a lot of information that your brain doesn't need right now. Keep in mind, your brain can't decipher what's right or what's wrong. Your brain just takes the information that's given to it and it processes it. It's you with the reasoning abilities combined with it, your human nature, your gut, that have to respond to it. So, you know, I've got my guitars. I'm not binge watching TV. I'm not one of those people. I think that's just like, I'd rather go out back and watch the birds and the squirrels and have a cold beer on my back porch area. So just kind of what I do.
Terrific. Is there anything in particular that you do to stay so positive and uplifted all the time? Anything particular that helps you?
Yeah, I make sure I thankful for what I'm for. One of the things that I do is I was given a gift from the Naples area board of realtors, some of my friends down there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a book, and it says prayers for our country. Because as you know, I'm very patriotic. Have a son that's in the military and have a family that has become very patriotic over the years, and not just because of 9/11. So there's a little prayer every day that's in there that I read. I look at if I do look on Facebook, I look at my year ago anniversaries. I look at things that were happening in the past that are kind of popping up, kind of really a throwback day. We're creating some new interesting things for my office, which I think the leadership team, we're probably going to mess with them a little bit. You can use Zoom to do like, let's make a deal, trivia. Vince, you mentioned trivia. Maybe we can get you as a guest host on one of our trivias or whatever. But be creative with this technology, not just think about it for work. Look at it how you can engage and go face to face with some of if you're a broker owner, if not, if you're a friend. Don't just try to communicate on Facebook. That's been a big part of it, is come up with creative, fun ways to distract yourself throughout the day.
Great. Now we're going to go ahead and take a few questions. We have some time to go to Facebook. I have a question here from Taylor Cresswell. He read the article the other day from Florida Realtors that Homeland Security has deemed real estate an essential service. How does that have an effect on Florida Realtors? And do you have anything to comment regarding that?
It has absolutely no effect on Florida Realtors, nor does it the nation. It's merely it's not a doctrine. It's a guideline that the federal agency had come out with, that these are items that they have identified that potentially could be businesses that are worth keeping open. As I said before, the governor right now doesn't have an appetite to do a statewide ruling or an order. He is allowing the local municipalities to do this. Your local municipalities can do whatever they want to do, providing it's not unconstitutional or illegal. And I think a lot of what they're doing is based on the behavior of its own community, which I think is justified. I mean, you know, quite frankly, it's like you have 10 kids. Each one needs different parenting skills from you, and you know what's best for each one. All of them don't suffer, but by the same token, you base reward on how they act and what they deserve. So, you know, as far as just because we're deemed essential doesn't mean anything to the state. We are advocating for it so that we can, when needed, help people continue that path to home ownership.
Great, thank you. I have another question from Elaine Pumarejo, wondering about resources for unemployment and how that would apply to realtors. Do you, or maybe even Vince, have anything to comment regarding that?
Well, I'll start, and then Vince, I know you mentioned, Vince, you want to go? You want to talk about your resource first?
So generally, there'll be guidance on that very shortly. There's really nothing that we have at the national level that'll tell you when and how to apply. But Barry, maybe you may know more in relation to Florida, because they'll be applying for those state unemployment benefits through your state.
Right. And quite frankly, that's the answer. It's state by state, case by case. You know, Florida, Ken Lawson right now is completely overwhelmed. He was getting just this, his office was being completely inundated because of the unemployment claims that were coming in before it got really bad. And now that it's really bad, it's a multiplier of 10 with the applications coming in, and they're not prepared for it. So we have talked to his office. We're in constant communication with the governor's office, with the Surgeon General of the state of Florida, and with Ken Lawson's office. Margie and I were in fact, I just got a text a few minutes ago. They will be processing it, because there was this rumor that, hey, in Florida, you can't do it. No, that is not true. The federal government had mandated and signed an order that gig workers, you'll hear that word, gig workers. Now, we are a little different than gigs. You don't book us every Friday night at the bar, and our business happens as we prospect for it. So there is going to be some little idiocies with it and changes. What we're doing at Florida Realtors is we're closely monitoring and supporting Mr. Lawson's office any way that we can. The leadership team meets 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And they're very healthy, robust meetings. They're probably some of the most active meetings I've ever been part of. And we're working on how can we best be a resource for our realtor members. Keep in mind what our mission statement is to be the voice for real estate in the state of Florida, provide opportunities for our members to do more business and alike. So we're going to be working on resources. We're kicking around ideas right now that are pretty crafty. I mean, you know, we're getting kind of out there with some stuff on how we can get either consulting services. We can look for outside resources. You know, organizations like SCORE, the SBA administration has this group called SCORE. If you're not familiar with them, they're funded through the SBA, and it's a group of retired executives who actually coach you through the SBA program. We'd like to see something like that for unemployment. And so our legal hotline, although it's not an employment expert, it is open and running at 100%. If a member has a question, if they need any question all about this, please remember your Florida legal hotline. It's open, and you can call them and ask them for it. But if it happens in the state of Florida, and when it happens, we're going to be in front of it, and we're going to make sure our members know about it, and we'll assist them every way we can to get them the benefits that they need and deserve.
Thank you both so much. Speaking of the legal hotline, we had this come up during our recent board of directors meeting that was also held via Zoom. One of our directors was wondering if there's going to be any sort of addendums coming out regarding COVID-19. Sometimes people are doing deals and they're writing their own things that might not be the best thing to do, and there's nothing really out there as far as a addendum on the pre-closing side of the transaction.
Okay, I'm going to give you a blanket statement. Nobody should be writing addendums. You should have an attorney write an addendum, because you could be practicing law without a license and not even knowing it. The Bar Association doesn't like that. So Florida Realtors has produced an addendum for the contract, for the FAR Bar contract, in cooperation with the Bar Association, that we disseminated, and it can be found in the Florida Forms Library that is used. And now in principle, it's designed to use with an existing contract in the event that you run into a stumbling block or a hurdle. We can't solve tomorrow's problems, all of them anyways. We think that Joanna's team has done a great job in this document. We have been asked, hey, are you going to do anything for listing agreements? Are you going to do anything as far as hold harmlesses go? The answer is no. We cannot craft a document to indemnify every broker in the state of Florida. The listing agreement, there are so many different ones that, not everyone, some of them are big brokers, they have them, other brokers use different types. So it's really hard for us. The only thing we can do is know that the instrument on the Florida FAR Bar contract is the one that is predominantly used throughout the entire state. Very rarely do you see one that falls outside of that document or of our library. So that's what we're focusing on now. If we hear a good idea, I'm not saying we're against it. We like to hear ideas. We like to hear you, the executive officers, push stuff up to Margie. Believe me, everything gets to the LT, and we'll listen to it, because we sell real estate every day. That's what we do. So.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. We only have time for a couple more questions before we move on to our next guest. Michael Candido was on Facebook, and he was wondering, are there any best practices that are published for realtors that are dealing with buyers and sellers? Like a single
Yes.
practices.
So there's two. There's one at Florida Realtors, again, that floridarealtors.org/coronavirus. It has a ton of information. A lot of that is the same information that's contained from the National Association. But Vince, why don't you tell them about the website too that they can find?
Yeah, they could find it on nar.realtor. And we just put up a video by Vice President of Association Affairs, Mabel Guzman, who put on best practices regarding some aspects of the transaction and dealing with things virtually. And I think that will be of great help to you. It's been very well received. That was just put up this morning.
And Dennis, I'll tag on the back of that. I know that one of the big things a lot of these members are going to that I hear views on both sides about was the recommendation to the MLSs to shut down the open house and reaching out to the realtor.com and do the same thing. I know the National Association did that. We're not in the business of telling brokerages how to run their business. And we're not, as an association, we're not here to tell people to do that. What I can tell you is when you see 10 cars outside of an open house and one person having an open house there, common sense has to prevail. I think that this is a message that better comes from you, the members out there. It's just like the code of ethics. It's self-policing. Some people don't know. Some people do know. But this type of behavior, it's not our business as an association to get involved with this. So I'm gonna take that hat off for a second. Use common sense, people. These are not best practices. This is not going to get better until we start acting better and start acting responsible. So when you see it, counsel your fellow realtor. Give them a call and say, hey, did you ever think about this? So I know that that was part of it. I've seen that question a lot. I don't shy away from those types of things. I hit them head on. So if there's anything, they can call me.
Well, terrific. That seems to be the last of the Facebook questions. So again, President Grooms and President MALTA, I really appreciate you tuning in today and answering our members' questions and providing all of this terrific information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to turn it back over to Darlene Davenport, who's going to introduce our next guest.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, President Grooms. Wonderful job, great update. At this time, we'd like to bring to you a legislative update. We are fortunate to have Hillsborough County Commissioner STACY White and County Administrator Mike MERRILL join us and provide a local legislative update. Both Commissioner White and Mr. MERRILL have been on the front lines ensuring that Hillsborough County remains safe and protected during this time. Due to time constraints, we request that any questions regarding today's call be emailed to Jacob Brunell, Governmental Affairs Manager for Greater Tampa Realtors. His email is jacob@tamparealtors.org. These will be compiled and sent over to Mr. MERRILL. And I would like to now turn this over to Commissioner White and Mr. MERRILL for their comments and update today. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hi there, this is Commissioner STACY White, and I have on the line with me our County Administrator, Mike MERRILL, for professional assistance. Mike, are you there? Okay, Mike should be joining us shortly. He had gotten a message asking him to dial in at 10 after 2.
Sorry,
oh.
Sorry I was
Okay.
muted. I'm not familiar
Okay.
with this technology, but I think I'm good now.
Got it. All right, folks. Well, again, this is Hillsborough County Commissioner STACY White. I represent District 4, which is Eastern Hillsborough County, and I'm going to open up with a few comments about the current COVID-19 pandemic, and then I'll hand it over to Mike for some further insight. First, I think it's important for me to just talk about the administration of the emergency response to COVID-19. And I think that's incredibly important, especially for your leadership at GTAR, so that you know which policymakers to engage throughout this. So here in Hillsborough County, our model involves what is known as the Emergency Policy Group. The formation of an emergency policy group is allowed pursuant to Florida law, and Hillsborough County opted for this model back in 1994 and the EPG, or Emergency Policy Group, was created by local county ordinance. The EPG is an 8-person committee. It's made up of 3 county commissioners, which are Commissioners Les Miller, Kimberly Overman, and Sandy Merman. The mayors of our 3 cities within our county, that's Mayor Jane Castor of Tampa, Mayor Rick Lott of Plant City, and Temple Terrace has their vice mayor, Andy Ross, filling in for their mayor. Sheriff Chad Chronister is a member, and School Board Chairwoman Melissa Snively is a member. The county commission positions are fixed, and they're held by the chair, the vice chair, and the District 1 commissioner. District 1 has almost all of the coastal areas of Hillsborough County, and since this group is usually activated in the event of a hurricane, the county commission many years ago decided to make the District 1 commissioner a permanent member. But as we're seeing now, though, the EPG is about much more than just hurricanes. So just to talk about the group's recent order, emergency order that was issued, there has been some confusion revolving around the terms essential versus non-essential businesses. These terms originate from a publication that's put out by the United States Department of Homeland Security. And currently, as it stands today, the EPG's emergency order, although it does differentiate between essential and non-essential businesses, it does state that any business can operate provided that they can do 2 things, and these are very important. One of those things is to follow the Centers for Disease Control, or CDC, guidelines for the mitigation of the spread of this virus. That can be found online. I also have a direct link to those guidelines on my Facebook page, Commissioner STACY White. But the 2 most important pieces of those CDC guidelines is to maintain social distancing, and they recommend that folks stay at least 6 feet apart and that you have proper sanitation in place. So adequate hand washing, disinfecting of surfaces, things like that. So that's one thing that a business has to be able to do per the current order, and that's to follow those CDC guidelines. The second thing that a business has to be able to do is to follow any pertinent emergency orders that are coming down from the state of Florida. So, for example, the state of Florida has made restaurants takeout and delivery only. So someone in the restaurant business has to follow that emergency order. And I just want to say as a sidebar that professionally, I happen to be a healthcare professional, and these things are very important for 2 main reasons. One is to flatten the curve. You hear so much about flattening the curve because we're eventually going to have a peak in cases, perhaps a plateau, and then a decrease in cases. It's very important to flatten that curve so that we don't overwhelm our nation's healthcare resources. It's also important because a lot of younger folks in particular are saying, well, it doesn't seem that this virus would be very dangerous to me, so why should I be concerned? Well, we should be concerned because we want to be sure that we lessen the spread to high-risk individuals like elderly people and people with pre-existing health care conditions. So the county commission is not working on anything in addition to what the emergency policy group is working on, because as I mentioned, that authority, because of state law and because of this local ordinance, is administered through the emergency policy group when there's a declared state of local emergency. So it's important to know that that's where these orders and decisions are coming from. The group meets a couple times a week. So obviously with things in a constant state of flux and things changing literally minute to minute, they can make changes, they can amend an order, they can create new orders at any time during the course of those meetings. So they're looking at everything couple of times a week, at least every 7 days. So that's sort of where we are right now, is on a 7-day cycle with the EPG, or Emergency Policy Group, meeting to analyze the current state of the situation and to make determinations as to whether or not orders need to be changed or new orders need to be put into place. With that being said, I'd like to hand it over to Mike for a few minutes to talk about some other key pieces of information revolving around this pandemic.
Thanks, Stacy, and thanks for inviting me to your call today. I just want to add a couple of things to what Commissioner White has said, and that is that this is, as you all know, a very serious virus, very contagious. And while the governor has not issued any statewide restrictions on business operations or any stricter regulations on movement of people, he did yesterday issue an order specific to South Florida, Miami-Dade, Broward, and a couple of other locations in South Florida, because in those areas the virus has gotten out of control, and he did in fact issue an order yesterday mandating the closure of all non-essential businesses. He is taking much more aggressive action down there because they were not able to mitigate, they were not able to take some of the steps that we're taking. So I just want to make it clear that we are in a spot now where all the things that Stacy's mentioned need to be followed, because the governor could, as he did yesterday, take similar action around the state if he feels that it's warranted. And he did, Stacy did a good job of describing the EPG and their powers. Under the local declaration of emergency, the EPG did delegate to me as county administrator, which is provided under state law, authority to act on my own should there be a situation that is so urgent and such a clear and present danger that the EPG is either not able to address it timely or other reasons. So that just kind of gives you another aspect to it. But so far, the EPG has been meeting twice a week, Monday and Thursday, virtually, and you can participate in that call. You can't, that doesn't provide for public comment, but you can listen in. And those meetings are at 1:30 to 3:30 every Monday and Thursday until further notice. A couple of other things that I was asked to address is the availability of testing for COVID-19. So as you know, the ability to test up until now and still is constrained by the availability of testing kits, and even more importantly, of what's called PPE, personal protective equipment, that has to be worn by those healthcare professionals that are actually administering the test. So in Florida, most of the testing and testing kits and PPE have gone to South Florida because of the dire need there. We have, in Hillsborough County, we have received 900 kits, testing kits, and by kit, it's really just a swab, a cotton swab, in a reagent or a medium that preserves it, and the test is administered with the cotton swab. It is then sent to a testing lab for determination. So we got 900 kits last week, which we administered through the Raymond James Stadium collection site. Of course, those went very quickly. They were, given the need, they were depleted in a couple of days. We just received another 1,500 testing kits over the weekend and today. And so the Raymond James site will open up again on Wednesday. The site is working very well. It is staffed by healthcare professionals of our 4 major hospital groups. The traffic management is handled by Tampa Police. County is providing other resources on the site. The process of administering the test goes very quickly. There haven't been any real backups, but again, so it's been a successful operation, but again, it's limited in terms of how many testing kits we can get. So just as you may know, just in the last 2 days, Abbott Labs, private company, has gotten approval, FDA approval, for a collection and testing medium that is much quicker. So right now, the testing that we do, or the collection we do, it takes 4 to 5, sometimes 8 days because of the demands on the commercial labs like LabCorp and Quest. So the new test that Abbott has gotten approved, and there are some others coming down the road here soon, are much quicker and will be much more plentiful once they ramp up production. So we will begin to see some of those testing kits coming to us. We do not, excuse me, we do not have an order. We do not have an order placed yet because Abbott has not released the production, but we expect it in the next couple of weeks. There is another test that is a blood test that is available, and we've ordered a number of those tests. However, the blood test only is sort of retrospective. It's determining whether people, when they're tested, whether they have had COVID-19. So it's very valuable information because it helps to fill in the data. It's also helpful because those who have had it and have basically developed a certain type of immunity can be excellent blood donors, which we will need in hospitals. So we have a number of those testing kits coming to us, but again, they don't help us tell if someone is currently positive, only if you have been positive and you have an immunity. So we will continue to run our collection sites as frequently as we can when we get the PPE and the testing kits. The second thing I was asked to address is the prediction of rates of infections that we'll see over the coming weeks. So I'll break that into 2 pieces. So as we are able to test more people, we will obviously have more positive results, and so our numbers will go up by virtue of having more testing. And so that will begin to show higher numbers of people who already have it and just are waiting to be tested. As far as the future incidence of infections goes back to what Commissioner White was saying earlier, and what I was saying is it depends on how well as a community and how well as individuals we take the right steps to control it. And so a lot of it is in our own hands. We've done a lot of the right things in terms of limiting access to the county through airports coming from certain areas. The governor's order did that. Limiting the number of mass gatherings, the number of people in gatherings, just a host of things that we're doing to try and not harm the economy, but first and foremost is to make sure that we don't end up like South Florida. And that just takes a lot of effort. Most of the experts in the EPG, the Emergency Policy Group, heard from an epidemiologist from USF yesterday that it will take some time for this to reach a point where many of the restrictions that are in place can be lifted. They have also been cautioning that like other viruses, this will tend to come in waves, and so at times it will appear that it's going away, but it does run in waves. So no one at this point, and I'm certainly not because I'm not a medical professional, no one's predicting how long it will be before we're past this, but I think we all need to be prepared to be vigilant for some time. The final thing that I was asked about is whether the commercial and residential real estate brokerage business is an essential service. The Homeland Security, Office of Homeland Security just issued in the last couple of days their revised list of what they call critical infrastructure. It's called CISA. And you can go to the Homeland Security website and just search for CISA, which stands for Critical Industry Security. I can't remember what the A stands for, but anyway, they have a comprehensive list by type of industry, identifying those businesses that are essential businesses. We here in Hillsborough County, like other states, counties, and cities, have adopted that Homeland Security CISA list as a base list, and then sometimes communities add to it. But if you go to that, you will see there is under other, the category other, a provision for residential and commercial real estate services, which I do believe would include real estate brokerage. So with that, I am complete, and I'll turn it back to Commissioner White.
Mike, thank you so much for your portion of that. I think we've certainly been able to share some positive news with the real estate industry, even given these tough times that we're in. I'll just close by saying that I recognize that realtors are incredibly important to the fabric of our economy, and that we continue to try very hard to strike that delicate balance between keeping our economy and critical infrastructure afloat, but at the same time, keep our citizens safe. I would ask you to continue to keep up with the emergency policy group that we've discussed, as well as any pertinent state of Florida emergency orders. We will get through this together and eventually get this behind us. So I'll just close by once again thanking Mike for joining me in this call for professional assistance. I want to thank Darlene and the entire group for having me, and Jacob for his role in putting this together. And as Darlene said at the outset, if you have any questions, please be sure to get those to Jacob. He'll get those to me and or Mike, and we'll be sure to get responses out to you. I hope this has been helpful and hope that y'all have a great afternoon.
Commissioner White and Mr. Merrill, thank you so much for joining us today. Most helpful. We understand the challenges, but we see that you are meeting these challenges every day. And we respect you as much as you respect our industry and look forward to working with you. Is there anything we can do as an industry and association for you?
Mike, you're the boots on the ground day to day, so I'm going to defer to you on that.
Well, so, a big part of this is education. And even though there is, as part of the order, as part of the EPG's order, the Safer at Home order, there is a law enforcement provision, and we saw that how that played out yesterday or this week when the sheriff had to arrest the pastor of the church who defied the order. Both law enforcement and all of us really want this to be educational. We really want to help people understand and take the steps that need to be taken on their own. So because you all deal with the public a lot, and you are at sort of the front line here in terms of contact with the public, to the extent that you can make them aware, we can certainly provide you with handout materials if you like, or just even to let them know they can look at the county's website, which is cflgov.net, and there's a prominent banner that takes them to everything they could possibly want to know about the coronavirus and what we're doing. But education and getting people to understand that, you know, this is has a lot to do with personal responsibility would be extremely helpful.
Great. Add to that?
I'm sorry, were you addressing me, Darlene?
Yes, sir. Did you want to add anything to Mr. Merrill's comment?
No, I would have nothing to add. You know, I'm a member of the county commission, which is essentially the governing board or board of directors for the county. But Mike, being the administrator, is truly the boots on the ground day to day, and I would just say ditto to what he said. And I do agree that education is an incredibly important component of this response. And as Mike said, the realtor community, you know, you are on the front line, and you are able to reach a lot of people through your social media contacts, through email, through other means. And we would just ask that you spread the word about staying safe and following those guidelines to help flatten this curve.
Well, again, thank you both for joining us today. A wealth of knowledge, so helpful for all of our members. And we're here for you. And stay tuned for the evolving updates daily.
Thank you very much.
Certainly. So at this time, you've heard from national, state, and local today. And the takeaways, I hope, are most helpful for you, for all of us. We heard from President MALTA that, you know, sharpen your skills, C2EX. We have a great promotion out there. It's a contest. Get involved and sharpen your skills while you have this time. And President Barry, we all love habits that will shape us into better realtors. Getting up every day and, you know, getting dressed for that success and starting your day, trying to keep a normal day routine in place. I don't know if he's shaving, but he says he is. But it just, I think, can keep us somewhat sane in the challenging times that we're going through. But you can see everyone, as I have shared before, is not sitting idle. Everyone is working on this. We're in challenging times, but we had the most important piece of update too on a local level from Mr. Merrill regarding Real Estate Essential. And as he said, they are following Homeland Security guidelines, and the newest revision that came out spoke to residential and commercial real estate brokerage. So some of you have asked about your open houses. That was touched on today. Please be responsible. Know that our actions are being watched, and today we are able to function. We're doing drive-through closings. Get a hamburger and a Coke and do your closing. So many resources have come together, and we're going to present you with a panel in the next week that will share all of those opportunities of resources available to continue doing business. So stay tuned for that. But let's all be responsible. If we keep, flatten that curve, we're responsible enough that we're not carrying this virus beyond what it is today. We can continue to do business and see this through together. Many resources out there for you as far as the stimulus package, and we will keep you informed. You heard that today as well. It has been signed. It is there, and it looks like 3 weeks, hopefully, from what I'm reading, that possibly we'll start to see some money trickling out. So we are listed in there, which is important for us as well. As an industry, that those of you that fall within the guidelines will be able to see some money at your home as well. So Dennis, did you have anything else that you wanted to add for our presentation today?
Yes, and once again, thank you for joining in, and thank you for bearing with us through the technical difficulties that we've had. We will be recording this session, so anything that you have heard, if there was any issues, we will have it recorded and edited and sent out to you. Like Darlene said, and Barry, we your safety is all is really the most important thing for us, and we want you to be safe, and we want you to know that we are here to support you regardless of what's happening, as long as we are allowed to do so. With all the great news that we heard today, real estate is essential. You can still continue to do your showings if you follow the CDC guidelines and the recommendations of your local entity. That came up several times in the chat. So just know this is an individual business decision that you are making or your broker is making. So contact them and make sure you adhere to all of the guidelines and recommendations from the CDC and from your local government to make sure that there's nothing stricter enacted where you are showing property or where you are practicing. So make sure that you're staying abreast of all the latest information. We'll be sending out updates via Facebook, via email, via video. We have several exciting things coming up, like Darlene had mentioned, a panel session of people who are continuing to do business and what practices that they're doing and different tools that might be out there that you may not be aware of that could help you with your business. So again, we're here for your support, and just thank you so much for being a member and for tuning in today.
Dennis, thank you so much. And we commend you and your staff on the job that you have done to lead us through these tough times. You're here for us, and I see all the measures in place today. Everyone's staying out of the room. I don't know if that's social distancing or distancing from Darlene, but good job. We certainly appreciate all that you do for us, and especially in these times. So great information today. The website has been posted on Facebook for the EPC. Our county leaders have met the challenge and said, you know, time is of the essence. They meet 2-3 times a week. So that information is most crucial for you to understand what we're doing as a local municipality as far as safer at home, stay at home, curfews, whatever. All that information is there on the website and posted. So again, our apologies to you for the traffic jam on the broadband. We went to get on and just couldn't get there. So you know how traffic is. It's great in Tampa right now, but not on the broadband. But again, thank you today. Everyone stay safe, be well, and we're here for you.